if you have your hand on the trigger, and in your mind, you're not thinking about, oh, let me shoot him in the leg. Hey guys, welcome back to Breaking the Silence. My name is Spencer and I'm here with
Queenie.
And today we're talking about policing and the effects on the black community. So just to begin, Queenie, when you hear police, what comes to mind?
Well, when you think about police in the context of the UK, I think they're people who are to protect and serve. They're people that are, looking out for us and our safety, amongst many other things. But those would probably be the main things that I think about when I think about the police. And I'll throw that back to you.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think I feel the same. I feel like police are there to definitely help protect and keep the peace within our communities, and also to uphold the law, in a sense, to just ensure that our communities are safe. That there isn't anything going on that shouldn't be going on, and that nobody is at harm. In a sense.
However,
though, in recent circumstances, as to how we've seen around the world, cases, especially within that black community, we've seen like a rise in terms of shootings.
Police brutality.
Exactly, that's led to the death of a lot of people as well. What are your thoughts when you hear those things?
Do you know what? It really saddens me because every day we're fighting for change, especially as a black community. We're fighting for change, we're fighting for a difference, we're fighting for quite literally the right to breathe. And almost the one body that we kind of look up to protect us, to serve the community, are the police body. But when you see that it's that same body, institution, whatever, that are inflicting this harm, you kind of begin to question, well then what is their purpose here? And especially over the last year, so 2020 in particular, so to speak, the Black Lives Matter movement has been going on for years. And this year got a lot more people talking and a lot more people educated about what's going on. But I think it's also not to take away from a lot of the conversations that are not being had as to the reality of some of the instances that do happen and that do take place. For example, a lot of people have called for the defunding of the police, or to add more regulations and to do things like that, and almost also championing the actions of, possibly, not in all cases, possibly the actions of someone who's been against the law, that the law have had to come in. But where I do disagree is that police then seem to think it's okay to take a fatal action that leads to the death of someone else. Do you know what I mean? And that's where it goes wrong. And that's how you cause division. That's how you cause heartbreak. That's how you divide communities. Because in the long kind of spectrum of things, we have to try and remember, where did it all start? Yeah,
that's true. And when we actually look at where it all started, I think you, before as we were speaking, you were saying it started within the 1800s or
so in the 1800s, these, and what I will do is make sure we're linking all the information in our description. But in the 1800s, we saw, well, we didn't because we weren't around then, but we saw that these bodies were put in place. And back then, particularly, wasn't necessarily targeted towards violent crime, and I'm speaking particularly in the UK. It was more so to help protect certain areas against burglary, theft, and kind of things like that, that there wasn't any control at the time. But obviously over time, as their institution has grown, has developed, has modernized, it's obviously begun to see a protection in other areas and prevention of crime and stuff like that. And but similarly towards our counterparts in the US, a similar thing was put together around the same time. However, obviously it was more targeted towards violent crime. And of course we understand the purpose of the police and what they're supposed to do for us. But I think where it's gone wrong over time is the power that they've been given, more so probably by a higher institution, so to speak, the government. I feel like they're probably now using that power that they have to enforce that against civilians, and that's where it kind of gets a bit sticky. What are your thoughts? Cause
that's interesting. No, it's very interesting, because when I look at that, and I look at policing, I tend to look at it from a perspective that, yes, the police were there to help and protect and serve and keep the environment safe and our people safe. As it evolved, we've then seen, yes, government institutions as to where the police force is an extension of the government. So a lot of violent crimes that we tend to see now, especially in the black community, with a lot of the killings, like a very famous one that we all know about, the George Floyd incident. But when you actually look at that, you also tend to think that police don't really go into the police force with the mentality that, okay, this is my agenda to sort of keep the oppression on the black people in a sense and to enforce the killing. You know what I'm saying? They're going there because they want to help and protect and serve the country and their people. And then you then see a lot of them tend to change slowly. I think a lot of them do change slowly, and it's not that they want to change, but their environment and the people that they also have around you as well change. But then that then asks the question as to how, like, what's the mentality of the people in the police force? Like, because I'm sure not all of them came in with the same mentality. And I look at it from a perspective that when you see in the terms of, I look at that police, the way it was in America, I feel a lot of it was based on slavery mentalities instead. Reason why I say that is because I feel that a lot of what was abolished within slavery times there's ways as to which now the slave owners and the oppressors now start to look, okay, cool, we can't act in this type of way anymore, but we still feel as if, like, when we look at it from a racial perspective and the demographic of races, but we actually see, oh my god, there's a hell of a lot of black people within the country or minorities within the country, you know, and in years to come, if we're to have a level playing field, then there will be more of them than us, in a sense, from their mentality. So I feel that a lot of what you see is that it's all come to a construct as to how we keep the balance, as to the fact that the white race is still superior and still around a lot more and doesn't become extinct to ethnic minorities in a sense. Which is why I tend to feel as well that when you look at the government and previous presidents in America as well, like you had John Nixon, who was very, his mentality was about keeping black people suppressed, keeping the oppression on, you know, not giving black people the rights that they actually deserved, in a sense. You know what I'm saying? With his reign, then you had President Reagan, who was very much off that type of thing. Reagan in his time even used terms to black people and calling them super predators. We were seen as super predators, animals, beasts. We weren't seen as common human beings, you know what I'm saying? And then that's where you start seeing the Jim Crow revolution coming around, where oppression was there. And then after that, you then see Bill Clinton, you know what I'm saying, which then in 1994 bill was passed for the mass incarceration of black people that came in. Then, you know, all of these things, you had crack, which was there as to use as weaponized to incarcerate black people and stuff like that. But who was actually used? Police forces were used. You know what I'm saying? To gather up them people. That's where my mentality, I think.
And I hear that. I hear that, but I feel like, okay, when we look at it as us as a black community and just picking on the words where we see ourselves as the minority, the oppressed, and granted, what happened 400 years ago, that happened to us and it was not on, and they put us in this position. But I feel like over time we've just chosen to adopt that and keep that state of mind, like we're going to be oppressed until forever and forever because this is what they did to my ancestors, and so we're gonna accept those stereotypes that we are loud, we are rowdy, we are the beasts and stuff like that.
I don't agree.
Why is it that there's a lot of pushback then from the black community when law enforcement are involved?
See, the point that you made there, I don't really agree with that, because then in a saying that it's not that we want to hold on to that, but we're constantly reminded of it, you see, and it then comes within the whole segregation sort of view, you know. I mean, it's big. There's a lot of it, because there's a lot that it plays into. It plays into jobs or job opportunities and those type of things, how black people are treated in jobs and everything like that. You know what I'm saying? So there's a big concept there. So I don't think it's more of it as if we're trying to hold on to it. It's more as we are constantly reminded about it, and especially how we are treated when it comes to by the police, with the rises of multiple examples of innocent black people who have actually been killed by the police, you know, to then only later find out in court that, oh, it wasn't actually an act of justice, but it was more or less, it was murder.
The police were trigger happy. But also I feel like the media has a huge role in portraying, and this is not me, listen, I'm a proud black woman, but this isn't me taking away from our experiences as a black community, especially in the US when it comes to the police. But I feel like the media has portrayed this, let's not even say the media. I think the people portrayed this innocence of the black person. They were shot and killed by the police. But then often what we don't see in the media are either events that led to or events that happened after a shooting that took place that involved the police. Like there are, in terms of, if something happened, you hear, well, innocent person was just walking and then the police just shot them in the back. Yeah. But then later down the line, after investigations have been done and more stuff comes out, you hear that, well, actually, maybe that person had a weapon or they were charging towards a police officer. And so the police officer, I don't think they should just stand there. I think in America, and that's why, you know, a little bit I'm grateful in the UK that police officers aren't armed as such.
I was about to say that.
Right, but in the US, what happens if it was the civilian takes action on the police officer?
True.
They defend themselves.
No, but true. But then even in the UK, you've got civilians taking out on the police officers.
Right.
But yet the police officers still know how to deal with it in a certain way as to where they can still bring justice. They can still arrest the person, contain the person in handcuffs, and without any actual killings whatsoever. See, the question that I have is that the police, fair enough, they're trying to keep safety.
Right.
Fair enough, somebody is coming at you. You understand? But if you have your hand on the trigger, and in your mind, you're not thinking about, oh, let me shoot him in the leg, that will destabilize him a little bit, and everything like that. That will reduce the threat that's actually coming onto me, because 9 out of 10, when you get shot in the leg, it's painful. So in the sense that you're not really gonna be moving at full force anymore, because that is taking so much pain out of you. So why can't they then think that, oh, let me not shoot him in the mid to top area, because I know that the chances that he'll die is very high. But if I shoot him in the lower area to just destabilize him, why can't I do that? Why is it that a lot of police officers, they shoot to kill?
I think it's got to do with training as well. Like if you think about shooting ranges, if you notice, it's always the not the portfolio of the body, like the top half of the body picture that they shoot and like do target practice with.
Yeah.
You don't have a whole body of someone, and maybe that's just probably been instilled in their training, which I do agree. Like there are other ways to de-escalate the situation.
Wait, you said something very good there. You said that is probably been instilled in their training. So what are they being trained to think? Are they being trained to think that when they see a black person, they shoot and they kill, but when they see a white person or another ethnic minority or so, that it's just destabilize the situation, descale the risk. You know what I'm saying? Just bring the risk down a little bit. So why is that the case then?
But I believe that there have been white people that have been killed by the police. It's just not shown in the media.
Really? Okay, well, hold on a minute. Hold on. wait, hold on. Okay, well, according to the PNAS, which is the Proceedings of the National Academy of Sciences in the USA, this is actually a reputable site here. It actually says that black men are about 2.5 times more likely to be killed by police officers over their life course than white men. Black women are 1.4 times more likely to be killed by police than white women. Okay, hold on. American Indian men are 1.2 to 1.7 times more likely to be killed by the police than white men. And American Indian women are 1.1 and 2.1 times more likely to be killed. Latinos, you then see, is 1.3 and 1.4 times more likely to be killed. Okay, but then you look at the ages between 25 and 29, where you've got black men are killed by the police at a rate between 2.8 to 4.1 per 100,000. Yeah, we have then American Indian, which are 1.5 and 2.8 per 100,000.
How many of them are carrying weapons, or how many of them are innocent?
No, but it don't matter.
Yeah, but
no, it don't matter.
Right. Okay.
That doesn't matter at all, whether they're carrying weapons or not.
Right.
Whether they're carrying weapons or not. More time, what we see, right? What we see is situations as to where you either have an innocent person who actually hasn't done anything wrong at all, just be shot dead. Why?
I know there are many examples like that, like Trayvon Martin, like just standing there and the police.
There's too many.
Shot them. There are many other instances like that. But I feel like also, in terms of from a black community, like how can we respond to this in order to protect ourselves and our future generations? For example, many people will know about the recent Ma'Khia Bryant shooting where she had a weapon in her hand, but because she was being jumped by these other women, she called the police for help, and they turned up and instead shot her. Some people would argue, well, she was carrying a weapon and the police might have felt threatened, but I'm sure there are many of us that have also seen the footage, the body cam footage, which showed that the police were quite a distance away from her. But I think for me, from a community perspective, I always want to question, well, before kind of police get involved, they intervene or they turn up, things like that, like there were many bystanders there. Let's just start there. And before then, she hadn't even brought out a knife or anything like that. But why is it that we're okay, or we're quick to go and watch the show and spectate and oh my god, or pull up our phones and Instagram and Snapchat than we are to help de-escalate a situation? But then when the police turn up and obviously either the situation is escalated and that they feel the need to do something about it, obviously not condoning that they're shooting to kill, but the police have come, now it's technically in their jurisdiction, it's in their hands, but as a community we could have done something to stop it. Do you get where I'm coming from?
Okay, what would you have done?
Okay, good question. And I was having a conversation with my sister about this before, and she asked me the exact same question. Like, if it happened in front of my house, would I have stepped in? I personally, if they were...
Knowing that the person's got a knife in their hand, what would you have?
No, but at the time she didn't. So if there weren't any weapons, I'm not saying I'm physically capable to go and stop the situation. Like, these are girls swinging their arms, innit?
Yeah.
But if there's a way that the community, I could encourage others in the community, like maybe the men in the community, to help separate it, I try and do that. I try and use my mouth as much as I can. But that's not saying that if it did happen that I will. You know, I'm not trying to say that I'm not perfect like that. I think when you're in the situation, that's when you know whether or not what action you're going to take. But it's kind of like we're all spectators really in a lot of the situations that happen. Even with George Floyd, everyone was kind of just standing there going, oh my god, like, don't resist. But we all saw that there wasn't any resistance. But people are just spectating, and then it's like, what are we taking from that? What are we learning from that? Rather than running to the streets, protesting, looting, that's enabling the police to come out and protect the streets. And as we know in America, they're good with their tasers and their gas and their but it's just like, well, if something has gone wrong, an injustice has taken place, why do we feel the need that we have to go and destroy in order to repair? It's no secret that there is injustice, there's institutional racism, there is a whole proportion of issues and there's like racial disparity and things like that. But it's like, our response to these situations as a black community, be in the US or the UK, if we are upset that there's violence and there's, discrimination happening towards us, why do we feel the need that we need to use that same violence in order to get justice? Right? So when, for example, there were people that were, they went out to protest peacefully and probably shit hit the fan, excuse my French, and things went left, and they were caught either in a crossfire of rubber bullets, or there was a stampede of armed officers coming their way, and it just might look like they were causing mischief, but they weren't, and were fatally shot in that instance, which have been cases, especially last year. It just begs the question, all right, okay, could there have been better ways that we could have come together as a community to fight for justice for the killings, whether justfully or unjustly, of these people, as opposed to fueling the rage that the law enforcement have to allow them use their power against us?
But the thing is though, but then it also comes down to the status that black people have been fighting for justice in the right way for a very, very, very long time. We still ain't got nowhere. It still ain't changed. You know what I'm saying? We got to think of it. It's not just now that we're seeing killings from the police on black people. It's been happening for years. And black people have been protesting in the right way and everything like that. And guess what? What are they getting? They're getting more of their people killed. So I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But then it also comes to a time where like enough is enough, like raw, like.
So you think we should be protesting then to fuel that? Since we've kind of been complaining this whole while and nothing's changed. If you'd ask me what an ideal solution would be,
I see. First thing that I see where you're coming from in the sense of that protesting, but I'm just thinking like, I don't know, man.
Did you go and protest last year?
No, I didn't.
Right. Neither did I. And I think for me, there are many reasons for that. A, because we're in an active pandemic. And B, because if we have been fighting on going for protests for years and years and nothing's happening, what difference is going out this time going to make? We should be thinking about other ways to do it, no? If we're saying, okay, something needs to be done. If we're saying something needs to be done about the policing system, we're not going to make that complaint on the street. We need to be going into these government bodies. We need to be encouraging our young ones to take up roles that can enable that change. Do you see where I'm coming from? Like, how can we inspire our community? No one wants to be a police officer. In fact, reports say and statistics show, which I will link in the chat below as well, but it shows that in the last 2 years, so from 2019 up until now, there's been a significant decrease of people going for police jobs in the 100,000s.
Why?
Because they're afraid. People are afraid. No one's going to put their life on the line if they know that.
Is it that they're afraid, or they also know that there's also a lot of racism within the police organisations?